This is Sean with Voices Live On at Binkley's for Binkley's Local Stories, and we have a legend from the community, Glenn Bill. Glenn, how you doing today?
I'm great, Sean. Thanks for having me at one of my favorite Broad Ripple establishments, Binkley's Bar and Grill.
And Courtney was not able to meet with us tonight. She's attending to other things with the family, but I know you've known Courtney from quite some time. And when did you originally get connected with the Chesbros?
Sure. So I would say it was, let me think about this, probably 25 years ago. I was in the real estate business and got a call from a gentleman named Tim O'Connor, who owned Realty World O'Connor, a multi-generational local business here. The O'Connors, lots of O'Connors here in Indianapolis. And his sales manager was Pat Chesbro. And Tim had called me about taking over a Century 21 franchise in the local real estate market and growing that business, which we were successful doing. And in order for that deal to happen, we had to meet with Pat, as Pat was one of his leaders and on his leadership team. And I'm pretty sure I had known Pat before that, but business-wise, that's when I really first got to sit down with Pat. And when we successfully all became partners together, it started a really, really great, warm friendship, a family friendship between Pat, myself, and Laura. We used to go with Pat to Cancun and on company-sponsored event trips. Pat was always one of our top salespeople, always qualified, and we always had a lot of fun. And through knowing Pat and Laura all those years, we got to see all the Chesbros grow up. And of course, really one of my favorites, I mean, I love them all, but Courtney, I've just always gravitated to her. And she's just always been such a part of Pat's life. And as Pat helped her start this business, boy, there was nothing more heartwarming to see a father be so proud of how adept and smart, what a great execution person of a business that Courtney was. And he was just in awe of all of her talent, all of her relationships, all of her knowledge, all of her moxie that it took to open this business, especially at the beginning of COVID, and make it the success and really one of the leading community restaurants that we have here in Meridian Kessler and Broad Ripple. And
we are going to be dining this evening. What did you choose for your lovely meal that might be a little healthy?
Everything that I eat here is fantastic, but I had a late lunch, so I'm going to go with the chicken Cobb salad with Cajun seasoning. Portions are fantastic. Lettuce is always fresh. It's always cold. It's always crispy. And all the goodness that they put on top of the lettuce just cannot be remade or matched.
I'm going to be going with the pulled pork mac and cheese, and I saw that earlier, and I realized that as we showcase these different beautiful entrees and everything here, that one might be one of my favorites already.
You can just look at it and gain 2 or 3 pounds.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's so good, and I've had it. It's one of my favorites as well.
So let's go back a little bit between you and I. You knew my family as well off of Crittenden, and you recently remodeled their home after they'd passed away, moved away, Joe and Helen Kirker.
Yes.
And they had some children. Do you remember the children?
Sure. Well, there was Lisa, Michelle, and Jeff was one of my dear friends. God rest his soul. It's funny how family relationships carry on. Michelle's husband, Michael, who's a administrator up in Lafayette, has just started his real estate career with myself at EXP. He has blown the market away in Lafayette. He has outsold any new agent that we've had, and it's so great to be in business with Michelle and Michael. And then Lisa, I haven't got to see. I know she's out probably doing her horses and whatever. But it was such an honor that they called and reached out to me and said, Glenn, we need to sell the family home. We know that you flip houses, that you build and develop here in Broad Ripple, And we just wanted, my mom actually said, I want Glenville to have the first crack at this. And we settled on a price, was a little awkward, but we did a complete rehab. We also did a huge addition, put in a big driveway, and we ended up getting a successful sale, which closed earlier this year in March. And hopefully you'll have a few pictures of that on this video.
I think we'll definitely be able to have that. So the purpose here, what we're doing today is not just getting a little bit of your business background, but also getting some stories of the area. And you obviously know for the past few years, I've been doing people's life stories, families' memories of seniors, honoring people that are alive, honoring people that are passed away from multiple people's perspectives. And here we can get the local businesses in the area to tell their stories as well as the causes. So what do you think about that concept to be able to be launched here from Binkley's?
Well, I think it's great. You know, Binkley's opened as the pharmacy in 1928, and it was opened to promote community and to promote the linkage between a Butler, Tarkington, Meridian, Kessler, and Broad Ripple, and it's always been a transformational spot and building. I grew up in this building when it was the pharmacy. I was asking my brothers and sisters about their memories of Binkley's. And back in the day, they used to have these things called house tabs. And I don't know that Courtney is into this, but when Binkley's originated, every neighbor had their own house tab. There was no credit cards. There was no cash on pay. You had a Rolodex with everybody's name, phone number, and address. And they would simply write down what you took out of the store and send you a bill at the end of the month. That's how business was done back in the 1970s. So we used to get mom's prescriptions here, but after school, if mom didn't feel, I grew up just 3-4 blocks down, she would send us up to Binkley's as children, and we would be able to get a carton of cigarettes for her, pick up whatever medicines she may need, and then she'd always let us throw a candy bar or a treat for the trip charge for her. What was interesting is I was one of 5 children. Each one of us, a time or two, started to figure out that we could get whatever we wanted here, and all we had to do was sign for it. And I'll never forget when my father received a bill, I think it was for $300 back in the 70s. Milkshakes here were 75 cents to $1. But 5 kids having milkshakes every day can add up quick. Not to mention cartons of cigarette. And, you know, pharmacies used to sell alcohol. Alcohol was treated just like medicine. If you remember, Shaner's down at 49th in Illinois had the same gig that they had here at Binkley's. But families and all of us kids that grew up in Meridian, Kessler, Broad Ripple, we all had our parents' house accounts. We could come in, buy whatever we want, and they'd send the parents the bill at the end of the month. And I always said Binkley's was a great place for the youth of these neighborhoods to figure out the value of house accounts and the understanding that tabs do need to be paid. So obviously that doesn't happen anymore, but it might be a great business idea for Courtney.
It might be.
I have a feeling the collection rate was not very
Well,
good.
they got credit cards now, right?
They
So
got
hopefully
credit
they
cards
don't
now.
need to.
But they didn't have to shave 3 or 4 percentage points off of every bill. It was just how things were done. And you know, if you can imagine 10 and 11-year-old kids walking down Kessler Boulevard with a sack with a pack of cigarettes and whatever, or not a pack, we used to get cartons for my mom and cigars for dad. They would just give it to us and we'd walk home, and that's the way business was. So always has been a communal spot, always has been a gathering place, always has been a great experience for neighbors to come and ask, hey, where do you live? And it's amazing how many times when I'm in here and everybody's so friendly and introduces themselves to each other, you ask where they live and you find out, oh my gosh, you just live a block or 2 blocks away from us. And Binkley's, the history since 1928, I mean, we're going to be 100 years in 2 years of this place from opening as Binkley's. The families and the personal connections that come from this building, this iconic building that sits on the corner of Kessler and College, is just immeasurable.
So we're going to get into a little bit of your knowledge of the area, but who do you think are some other people that frequent here that would have some good stories that should also kind of tell some stories of the area?
Sure.
Who are a few that come to mind?
I mean, I've seen Ted Green, who's a documentarian, who's one of the founders of the Dropping Dimes Foundation. Him and Scott Carter, who actually lives with us on our property in one of the properties that we own. Amazing people. The Brazzi family, there was 8 of them. I see the Brazzis in here all the time. He's a lobbyist here for the State House with cities and towns. We see several local fire and policemen that come through here. We have high school and grade school coaches from every grade school around here that like to come and meet here as well. My kids come here, which is awesome.
Right.
Chances are, you walk into Binkley's, you're probably going to see a bill here. And my wife's family, the Elson family, who owned Elson's supermarket right across the street, which is now, I believe it's a house or it's a furniture place, but that used to be Elson's supermarket right on the corner. And then Rick Elson, next door to that, had the Schwinn bike shop back in the day. So the building right across the street, which is owned by the Atchison family now, that used to be housed by my in-laws, and certainly used to go grocery shopping across the street and get my bikes fixed across the street in that little strip. So it's been fun. And then of course, next to us, which is what's the business next to us? It's a home repair shop, but that was the iconic bar, which is now on 54th, known as the what's it called?
Pawn shop.
The pawn shop used to be here right next to this location, and they moved out, I want to say 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So the pawn shop was an iconic spot here in this building.
So as far as on Broad Ripple Avenue, streets north of Broad Ripple, all the little boutique-y little shops, what are some places that you remember frequenting on the strip or just off the strip that are obviously no longer there?
Well, I can't, I think the old Broad Ripple Tavern, which is now
Mickey Quinn's?
Colitas.
Wasn't it Mickey Quinn's back in the day?
Mickey Quinn's was now the BRT.
Right.
The Garage Lounge, which is now, I believe, a cigar bar, was in there. And then actually the Garage Lounge was where Old Pro's Table was, and where Lit is, that used to be a theater as well, and I can't remember the name.
Patio.
The patio. And then of course, you had Broad Ripple High School there, Applebee's, where that was a chicken place, which is now hopefully going to become something else. The Corner Wine Bar in the building that I live, or that I house my business in the Casaubon building, owned by local restaurateur and entrepreneur John Ponzer, with 317 Burger in that building. We had the Corner Wine Bar, which was, in my opinion, one of the greatest bars ever. The Casbah, which is now shut down, but that was down below, and I believe it was called the Wellington before the Casbah as well. And then I'm trying to think what Flatwater was before it was Flatwater.
For a minute, it was Basbo's, where Basbo started.
Right.
But way back in the day.
And so Mike's just done a great job with Flatwater and
Yeah.
everything they're doing there. And then, my wife and I used to work at Mr. Video, which was right next to the parking lot.
And what's your wife's name?
Colleen. Elsie
Colleen.
was her name.
And what are your children's names from oldest to youngest?
So my daughter's Brittany. She's 38. She has 5 children. They all go to Christ the King. And then Anthony, who has a daughter, Ava. And then Alex Bill, who lives in very close proximity to this, and I believe has the favored Bill status in this bar, even though I probably spend more. And then Chris, my youngest son, who probably has a second fiddle to Alex. But Alex is our all-star here at Binkley's and a dear friend of Courtney's.
So you've been able to help the community in a few different ways. You've been in real estate for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How many years ago did you start in real estate?
I've been in real estate 38 years.
38 years.
Yes.
When did you decide to start speaking in front of people to influence their minds?
So I ended up, as we discussed earlier, becoming part of an ownership group when I was 23 years old. We took a Century 21 franchise from 17 agents to 175 agents in 3 different offices. And we built that company for many reasons, but my role was to do the Tuesday morning sales meetings. And I got pretty proficient at public speaking at those sales meetings. We would actually have agents from other brokerages come just to get in to hear the craziness that I would teach every Tuesday morning. And that was really the beginning of my speaking and training career. And so that's basically how I got started. It was just all very natural. I also coached the football team at Chittard. I was the defensive line coach and freshman football coach for 25 years. And certainly a lot of public speaking on the football field and underneath the goalpost before we ran out. Obviously had a lot of very successful teams. Was fortunate enough to play on 2 state championship teams in '83 and '84.
What position?
I was offensive and defensive line. We played both ways back in the day.
Okay.
And then I was fortunate enough to coach on 11 state championship football teams after that. And again, every time I come in here, I'm probably going to be seeing a person I coached with over those 25 years or a player that I coached over the 25 years. And that's why I love it. You know, you want to go where everybody knows your name, go to Binkley.
Sure.
Especially if you lived around here.
So what are some of the history of the area knowledge that you know? Like, for instance, the first episode that we did was with an individual, Mike Boone from the White River Yacht Club. He's one of the oldest living members, still with the Yacht Club, and he told a little tidbit about Marple Park burning down twice because of the homeless. Do you happen to know any urban legend lore of the area that is always kind of, you've wondered if it was real, you've heard about, whatever it may be?
Well, you know, the only urban legend that I've really heard, I was fortunate enough to purchase the original farmhouse in Broad Ripple, which is right up the street on Kessler. And, you know, we've been told that the Underground Railroad ran through the big white farmhouse. That house was built in 1880. And so we do have some doors that don't make sense. I always tell people whatever they want to believe about that house, they can believe, and we just affirm it. I don't know that the Underground Railroad ran through there, but, you know, I also owned the old donut shop at 5527 Keystone that was also legendary for having being a part of the Underground Railroad. So it's funny that I would end up with 2 properties that have the legend of being a part of the Underground Railroad. And I found that out, you know, after I purchased it. So, you know, if you've been around this neighborhood, you know of the donut shop. It was a 38-year-old business with wonderful Filipino owners and just a staple for families to go in early, have their breakfast and lunch, pay $2.85 and call it a day. So
Now,
those are my best urban legends. And of course, you know, I love the Keystone Sports Review, which has moved out of the neighborhood at 56th and Keystone, which was the old Chicago's Pizza when I was growing up. Certainly remember the Knife and Fork, which is where CVS is on the canal. That was the Knife and Fork. Then it became Hook's Drug. And then I believe CVS ended up tearing that down and taking it over. The old teepee up the street at 38th and Fall Creek, that was a drive-in.
Fairgrounds.
And the Fairgrounds.
On the corner.
Teepee was a beautiful, wonderful restaurant. All part of that nostalgia that goes into growing up here in Meridian Kessler and being a part of the Binkley's tapestry, if you will, of what's going on.
And you've also been involved with the Knights of Columbus. My dad's been involved with the Knights of Columbus for a long time,
Yes.
over the years. You used to call him Bingo Bill.
Bingo Bill.
Did you ever know that?
I did not know that.
That's,
but
he
it
helped
doesn't
out
surprise
with
me.
the bingo. And when they would, he'd yell a bingo when somebody had a bingo, and then the guy up front would go, Bingo Bill, and he just became Bingo Bill. So you've met my parents,
I have.
and your parents, are they still around, or have they passed?
Our
Or
parents have passed.
okay,
My mother
what were
was
their names?
My Gracie Rembush, Bill. The Rembushes grew up on Meridian Street and were in the cinema business. And Mom was a IPS grade school teacher and taught RCIA at Christ the King Catholic Church. Coached many women's teams at many Northside Deanery parishes. My father was a steel salesman up in Tipton, but also coached in 6 decades in the CYO, and actually St. Luke, coached IPS, started the Tabernacle Salamanders football program, which we've had many high accolade people come from that experience. And then he finished at Christ the King, and when he was 80 years old, won a city championship with the 3rd and 4th grade team at 80, which is always kind of a cool thing. But started coaching in the 60s and coached every decade through the 2010s until he passed. So big community involved people, heavy in the Catholic Church, always giving and trying to work with the youth of our community.
Okay. So when I interview an individual about their parents, one of my favorite questions is their personality, how they were with people. What aspects of your father do you think you try to emulate? And also the same with your mom.
Sure.
Both sides.
So, Mom and Dad always consider themselves to be one, so I'll probably merge them together, but, certainly people of great faith always put their faith first, always put their church first, always put community involvement first. Obviously, I coached for 25 years, and, I'm really proud. My 3 sons are all coaching. One coaches wrestling at Cathedral, the other coaches football at Chautard, the other coaches football at Christ the King. So, that give back and that coaching experience has definitely been a thread that has extended through generations. And certainly, our responsibility and our presence in our faith life is just so important to what we do and why we do what we do. And I would probably tell you that's, the 2 biggest similarities that we have.
Now, as far as you being a dad, what are the important things that you think that you've instilled on your children, and maybe some examples of, how you've seen some of them thrive by utilizing those attributes?
Well, so I've always believed what's most important is to help your kids have a healthy self-image, which allows them to become leaders and which allows them to think for themselves. Being around high school coaching, usually what I found was when kids get in trouble, it's because they didn't lead and they didn't think for themselves. So, I know that self-confidence was always a part of how we were raised. I think if anybody knows the Bills, they know that we're a pretty confident group. And I think, the acceptance, the self-confidence of who you are, not to be afraid of who you are and what you're about, is something that is really the most important thing that you can give to your kids.
That's beautiful. Well, Glenn, I really appreciate you coming in today and sharing your history of the area.
Sure.
For Binkley's Local Stories. And I remember you from when I was little up in the attic with Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't really remember you guys hazing me too much, but I think you were pretty respectable. And, God bless Jeff and Helen and Joe. Obviously they've passed, but I thank you for always being a staple in my life, and it was somebody I could look up to.
Well, good, and congratulations on everything you're doing. 500 interviews just in the racing community is unbelievable, and you're making a difference with what's going on. I hope whoever's watching, give Sean a call. Let him document your life, your grandparents' life. Let him help you tell your story, because you know what? You can't get out of life alive, and when you don't, it's always nice to have a documentary behind.
That's right.